Does your mind ever go to that silent worry zone where you start feeling like you're afraid you might backslide? You're afraid of regressing. You're afraid of gaining the weight back, or that the business, though it's doing well, it might not continue to do well. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you want to be a positive person. You want to be an optimistic person, but you're afraid that it might be too good to be true, or that you can't sustain the growth you've had because maybe you've been someone who's struggled in the past with consistency and fear that you can't really change. And maybe you grew up hearing somebody say, people don't change. Well, listen, one, people do change. And if you've decided to change, you have. And I think that this is a narrative that happens in so many of our brains that causes this undercurrent of anxiety that we don't address and that we don't talk about. And we're talking about it today because I want you to walk with confidence and I want you to walk with peace over the fact that you are on your way to becoming the absolute person that God created you to be. You are on your way to being more and more amazing every single day, 1% in growth every single day. And I firsthand know that my brain sometimes tells me things like, oh, you can't keep this up, or what if you become like you used to be? What if you gain the weight back? What if you start up that bad habit again? What if you can't maintain this? And I want you to know today's episode is going to help you talk back to those what ifs. I get it. The fear of regression, it's a narrative that my brain often offers to me. And I'm going to give you some easy to implement strategies today that will help you successfully talk back to that fear so that you can walk with confidence and peace in who you are, who you have fought to become. Let's be proud of ourselves for a moment for who you've become and who you are on your way to being, because you are not going to backslide unless you allow that to happen. It's not this like, oh, I can't keep this up. Of course you can keep it up. You are changed. You are not who you once were. Maybe you're not where you want to be yet, but we are certainly on our way. In today's episode, we're diving into all of that and more. Buckle up for a great episode ahead. You're listening to the Confidence Podcast, your go-to for boldness, motivation, and actionable confidence tips. I'm your host, Trish Blackwell, confidence coach, best-selling author, and founder of the College of Confidence. I help go-getters like you master self-talk, quiet self-doubt, and step into the life you were created for. You're here for more, and today's episode will help you claim it. Let's dive in and let's train those confidence muscles. Hey guys, I'm Trish Blackwell. Welcome to the Confidence Podcast. You're listening to episode number 616, and today we're talking about what if I regress? How not to worry about backsliding in your habits or your growth. And I mean this particularly if you are afraid of gaining the weight back, if you're afraid of trusting the wrong people again, if you're afraid that you're going to fall back into those self-sabotaging habits of overeating, emotionally drinking, or mindlessly scrolling, or maybe you've had people in your life say, you can't keep it up, it's too good to be true. This episode is for you. And I think so many of us are afraid to admit that our thoughts are offered to us this way. I want to remind you that our thoughts create our emotions and our emotions create our actions. This is something I teach called the T method. And I teach this in my group coaching program, the College of Confidence. It's based off of cognitive behavioral therapy, this principle that our thoughts generate our emotions generate our actions. Easy way to remember this. When you feel motivated, you take action. You go for a run. You send the email. You clean your house. When we feel angry, you take action. You yell. You eat. I don't know what you do, right? When we feel an emotion, we do something. But also, our thoughts create our emotion. When I think a thought like, I'm afraid I might gain weight again. Or really, typically we don't say I'm afraid. Typically we reframe it of what if? What if? What if I don't keep it up? We say things like, what if I can't keep it up? And anytime you're thinking a what if, most of the time that means you're actually substitute your what if with I'm afraid that. So all that being said, you have this thought that then creates an emotion. What if I can't keep it up? What if I fall back into old patterns? What if I haven't really changed? Which really is, I'm afraid that. And anytime you're thinking those thoughts, you create an emotion that might be anxiety. It might be pressure. It might be fear. It might be shame. It might be embarrassment. I'll go into why we're talking about this, but before that, I want to say thank you to every one of you who have left a review for the show, who have shared the show with friends. That is how we grow. I pour my heart and soul every week into creating this show, and I've been doing so for over a decade, and it's my greatest privilege to be a voice of encouragement in your life and in the lives of anyone else that you love and care about. So do me a solid, share the show, send it to a friend, send it to your mom. It would mean the world to me for us to reach more people. And another way we reach more people is with reviews. Our review of the week is from Amber Lynn 16. She says this: solopreneur with anxiety. I started listening to this podcast about 4 months ago. This was about the same time I decided to quit my 9-to-5 insurance job and start my own event wedding planning business as a solopreneur. I've always struggled with self-confidence and anxiety, and Trisha's words of wisdom have honestly helped me get up in the morning each day and fight for my dream day in, day out. I may not always be feeling so confident, but after listening each week, I've implemented talking back to my self-doubt in major ways. Girl, I am so proud of you. And I wanted to highlight that review because I wanted you, wherever you're listening from, I want you to know we wake up every day and we fight day in, day out for our dreams. We fight to have a positive mindset. We fight to be the fullest expression of ourselves. We fight not just for ourselves, but because we live in a world that is hurting. You are called to be a confident version of yourself. That is the fullest expression of yourself. And when you're confident, you have courage. When you have confidence and courage, we are more capable of stepping into our calling, of being someone who advocates for change, of leading people, of encouraging others, of building others up. And there's a trickle-down effect here that your confidence will help others heal. Your confidence will help other people have a breakthrough. Your confidence will help others have the courage to do the work on their own lives and in their own healing. So you aren't just doing this work for you, you're fighting for your dream for you, and it's a trickle-down effect that is for other people as well. So I want to encourage you in that. Now, before we go into today's coaching on this fear of regression, I do want to let you guys know I'm very excited. I have a new weekly segment that we're going to be experimenting with. Now, here's why I say experiment. I need your feedback. If you listen on Spotify, you can comment on the app and let me know if you like this new segment. If you're watching on YouTube, comment, let me know. If you're listening on any other podcast app, just send me an email, trish@trishblackwell.com, or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm Trish_Blackwell over there. But here's what the segment's going to be. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a power phrase pyramid. That's right. Power phrase pyramid. You hear that, you know that I'm an advocate of very intentional thoughts and affirmations. I like to call them power phrases because I want you to realize they give you power. So this is a new weekly segment where I'm going to summarize a key takeaway point from the episode. I'm going to put it succinctly into an affirmation power phrase that you can take away and apply to your week. And since everyone is entering the theme from their own point of journey, I'm going to give you this power phrase in a pyramid, meaning phrased in a variety of ways and at different levels to match where you are and your level of belief and ability to build the truth of this power phrase in your life. You see, sometimes I offer you an affirmation or a power phrase or what I know is a truth, and you might say, that's great, Trish, but I don't believe that yet. I want to do what we call building the bridge and climbing the ladder. I'm going to help you have some stepping stone thoughts for you to get to the place of belief where you want to be. So make sure you listen to the end. We will be doing the power phrase pyramid at the end. Let's talk about why we're coaching today on fear of regression. So, personal story, you guys know I like to be transparent with you. I'm always going to tell you the real. I always hang my laundry out there. But here was my trigger situation. I was going back because actually, I'm almost afraid to tell you. If you're watching on YouTube, you already know this. But if you're listening, I am giving this a new commitment of expanding the podcast to YouTube because there are a lot of people who prefer listening on YouTube. So as I'm recording here, I'm also video recording. So if you want to see what I look like, or you want to come hang out with me and you prefer YouTube, come over to YouTube, tell me hi. But in that, I was looking at the analytics and some of the data in the back end of my YouTube channel. Now, I started my YouTube channel way back in like 2010 when I was a personal trainer. And I saw a video from like 2012. And I gotta tell you guys, I thought I was cute. I mean, I am cute and I was cute. But I remember feeling very confident and proud of myself for being on YouTube, and it was helping my fitness business, and it was really helping me become a more confident version of myself professionally. And so there's some fun fitness videos on there, so you of course can check them out. It's a little cringe to me now because, like, right, a lot of maturity on camera, a lot of maturity in just my overall presentation. All that said, don't judge. But I saw a video of myself where I went, oh, Trish, I was a little embarrassed. And honestly, if you saw it, you probably see no difference. But I saw it, and I saw a 10-pound difference between who I was then and who I am now. 10 pounds? Okay, so what? Meaning, as a personal trainer, I was actually probably 10 pounds heavier and softer than I am now. And I was so embarrassed because I was a personal trainer. That was my current business. But what I needed to give myself credit for was I was still working through things. Now, why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because I know that you see bad pictures of yourself from 10 years ago and you judge yourself. And you're not just judging yourself from 10 years ago. There's a undercurrent of fear of, oh no, it's almost as if you can't catch your breath of like, what if I go back to that? I don't want to go back to that. How do I not go back to that? And that is why I realized I have not yet done a whole episode on this fear of regression. It's this, I'm afraid I'm going to become that again. I'm afraid that that's the real me. Maybe I can't keep this up. Maybe I'm not as free as I thought. There's this lurking past self of yours. It's one where you were frustrated and you were maybe really fighting and trying to figure out and put the pieces together of breakthrough, and you weren't where you wanted to be. And now you look at that version of you and you feel shame, but you don't know why or what. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to dig deep to understand him or her. And so here's what I did. I pulled out my journal, and at the top of the page, I put an arrow down. In fact, I don't have the right journal. That was on YouTube. I would show you, but I put on one side of the page here, and on the other side of the page, who I was in 2010 and who I am in 2024. And to make it very, very clean and distinct and specific of I am not who I once was. I am not that person anymore. But I had to get very clear about who was that? And what am I proud of her for? I don't want to judge her. I want to have compassion and understanding for her. Because once you separate who you were and who you are, you already have power over your fear of regression, your fear of backsliding, the fear that the other shoe is going to drop. This is how we can stay optimistic and confident in the growth and the breakthrough we've had. Now, I'm giving you a weight example because it's an easy, tangible example that many of us can relate to, but maybe you're thinking about the past you from 10 years ago, or you were reflecting on past relationships, and maybe you're divorced and you're dating again, and you're afraid that you're going to pick the wrong person again. So there's this fear and this cringe about, oh, how did I not see all those red flags? What if I won't see them this time? Whoa. You are not who you once were. Now, if that is, as long as you take the time to learn from the mistakes of the past, as long as you take the time to be proud of the version of you in the past who was brave, who did make good choices, who had to go through some things in order to learn and master some things. So when I did this work and I wrote, who was I in 2012? And I just met my husband. We were falling in love. I was learning to believe that I was beautiful. I was learning to get behind a mic and have a voice, learning to believe that I had something good to say. And who am I in 2024? And I broke down everything from like what I thought about myself physically, what my workouts looked like, how they were different, how my relationship with food changed. And here's a few things. I was fit, but I was soft. I was still healing from PTSD. I hadn't even yet really gone to therapy for it. I had not done EMDR, which was, as you heard from me before, my massive breakthrough. I was still unsure if I was lovable. I was still feeling and dealing with some insecurity. I was still learning to be self-reflective. I did not have my solid journaling routines and habits then that I did. I was the starting stages of them. I was still developing all of my routines and habits. I was still struggling with emotional eating from time to time. I was still victim to my thoughts and unsure if I could ever be powerful over them. But here's the other thing. So once you separate who you were at that period of your life that you're like, I just don't want to be that again. Let's identify what that was and why you're different now. The next thing I want you to do is let's also say, I'm not that anymore and I'm so grateful, but I'm also proud of her. We want to have a kind and compassionate relationship with our past self in order to most benefit from that past self. You see, the things that I don't like about her were things that I had to learn so that I could become who I am today. The things I'm struggling with today, I refuse to have shame or self-judgment over because they're what I need to go through in order to grow to become the me that I want to be tomorrow. Because if I look at that past version, that 2012 version of Trish, she was powerful. She was bold. She was willing to podcast when no one knew what a podcast was. She had a calling on her heart to write books, and she did whatever it took to get an audience to read those books. She was positive, and she was a leader, and she was making six figures in the personal training world. Even though she had her own insecurities and her own self-doubt and her own stresses, she was proactive, and she was seeking growth too. So I want you to do the same. Who are you leaving in the past that you have outgrown? You see, what we do when we do this self-concept work where we take our past self and we separate our current self, you see, that is not who I am anymore. Now, this is, if you've ever worked with me in the College of Confidence or in my one-on-one coaching, you know this is the work that I do in my 1.0 you versus your 2.0 you. Your 1.0 you is who you used to be. And we need to acknowledge and list it out in her strengths and in her weaknesses, as well as listing out what we separate from her. We don't need to have shame or self-judgment or anxiety or put pressure on ourselves or fear that that's who we really are. That is not who you really are. It's just who you had to go through in order to become who you are now and who you're on your way to becoming. You see, I think that's the fear. We're like, what if that's really me? What if I am really going to struggle with alcohol my whole life? What if I'm really going to struggle with emotional eating my whole life? What if I really I'm never going to be good at math or money and get my finances together? What if that's me? Hey, stop drinking the Kool-Aid of thinking that a fixed mentality is who you are. We are not fixed creatures. We have this ability for a massive transformation. We are works in progress. There's transformation happening and renewing in our mind over and over. And if you look at the science of neuroplasticity, there is scientific evidence that the brain, the neural pathways of the brain and our cellular structure changes. We are not, just because you were described a certain way or you struggled with a certain thing does not make it a fixed character trait of who you are. You do have the ability to change, and the changes you have made, they are deep and they are intrinsic. Now, change takes time, right? So if we're changing and you're worried, maybe you're 30 days into a new habit and you're worried that next month you might slip into your old habit. Well, yeah, we have to be a little bit more disciplined in the first really 300 days of a habit, of a new part of you. But once it's ingrained and it's new, and you know what habits work for you, who you decided you're becoming, those start becoming more innate in who you are, which is why the work of deciding of who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming, we call that our 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 selves, are huge. You know, when I thought about that 2012 video of me, I was also embarrassed I remember the pain. I was embarrassed that I had to struggle for so long. And then what I did, once you identify where's the pain coming up when you think about that past self, when you're afraid of going back to who you were, let yourself grieve. Let yourself also be proud. Let yourself see the full vision of who you were. You were a human doing their best with the tools they had at the time. I was doing my best with the tools that I had at the time, and I have more tools now. So here's some healing questions I have for you. And then I'm going to give you 5 ways to not regress in anything in your life. This would be in your personal habits. This is in your weight. This is in your relationships, your friendships, your finances. So any fear of backsliding or regression, these 5 steps that I'm going to give you in just a minute will help you tremendously. But before that, here are the core questions, and I've got these listed in the show notes as well. Who was I in blank? So we're going to identify who were you in that time when you're like, I just don't want to be that person again. So it's not that I'm unhappy. It's just that I don't want to go back there. Who was that person? Who was I in blank? Fill in the blank. Now, like you said, who am I now? And then the third question is, who am I becoming? Now, what I did when I did this processing on myself was I took another sheet of paper and at the top of it, I wrote, what am I proud of myself for? And I wrote down 5 or 6 things. And then I came back the next day and wrote down 5 or 6 things. You know what I'm proud of? And I want you to give yourself credit because you might go, I don't know. What am I proud of myself for? I'm proud that I didn't give up. I'm proud that I believed in change. I'm proud that I invested in mentors and I got coaches. I'm proud that I spent money myself that I did not have and I didn't even think I was worthy of investing in. I'm proud of my willingness to show up on the screen. I'm proud of my willingness to show up behind the mic. I'm proud of myself for getting therapy. I'm proud of myself for believing that even if I can't help people perfectly, that the help that I put out will help them. It will give them hope. It will help them see that they have a future. They will see that there's a God who loves them, that is for them, not against them. Like, I'm proud of myself for my willingness to show up and grow every day. I'm proud of myself for detaching from a fixed mindset, which I was very attached to, into a growth mindset. Because I used to think, well, this is just how I am. I think this is just how I'm always going to be. I'm proud that I was willing to do the work. I'm proud of myself for journaling. I'm proud of myself for having the courage to be self-reflective. And you can be proud of those things too. Because fundamentally, we have to recognize that we are not who we once were. You have changed. That fixed version in your mind of your past and thinking, oh no, what if that's really me? What if I go back to being that again? Or what if I struggle with that again? That's a thought error. It's just a fear, and we talk back to our fears. When you talk back to your fear, you have authority, you have power. Your self-awareness, by the way, the fact that you are aware, right? Why was I aware that this was all happening? It's not like I had a very clear thought of like, oh no, I hope I don't become who I was. No, I just saw a piece of a video of myself and I was like, oh man. And I was disappointed. I felt a gut amount of disappointment and an uncomfortable emotion. And then I didn't think anything of it. And I moved through my day. And then I noticed I started having old thoughts like, maybe we should like cut our calories today, or maybe you should go I had these old eating disorder thoughts that came in that made me go, oh, and I realized, oh, I'm afraid of something here. And I pulled it back because I recognized the emotion that then brought a bunch of negative thoughts. Oh, I'm afraid of going backwards. And once you acknowledge the fear, the boogeyman goes away. The monster has no more power. Your thought is just a thought. We don't have to attach to a thought. Every thought that you think, you are either attaching to or inquiring about. And so I want you to inquire about these thoughts. And so be proud of your self-awareness and the fact that you have self-awareness that, wow, I think I'm afraid here. That is something that can go on your I'm proud of myself list. Because if your self-awareness increases, you can go back into being backward. You know that I'll notice if I start going backwards. Like if I have such self-awareness now that when I skip a couple of days of journaling and I feel a little on edge, I go, oh, Trish, like we know what's going wrong here. I'm not going to backslide because I know how good it feels to feel good. I know how good it feels to do all these habits that I've spent the last decade building. The fact that you would notice any backward movement, any maybe 2-pound weight gain, or maybe you date the wrong person, like if you see any old patterns, the fact that you would be aware and looking for them shows your maturity, shows that you've grown, is proof in the pudding that you are not who you used to be. And then now you have the ability, because you have the self-awareness, to pivot, to redirect, to double down on your effort. You guys know that I love snowboarding. I think about snowboarding. If I go down a hill and I don't like the hill I'm going down, I can turn my board and I can stop myself, or I can change directions. When I first started snowboarding, I did not have that control. I just had one direction. It was whatever the direction my board was pointing, because I didn't know how to turn my board this way. I didn't know how to turn my board that way. I didn't know how to toe edge enough with enough flexibility in my dorsiflexion to get myself off of the piste. But with experience comes the ability to pivot. It's the same thing for you. So here's the 5 steps to not regress. I'm going to give you the 5 steps, and then we'll go into our power phrase pyramid. Step number 1, change your self-concept. We've talked about that. That is first in realizing you are not the 1.0 you. You are not who you used to be. You are the 2.0 version of yourself, and you're getting better and better each day. If you have never yet listed out who is the 1.0 you, who the 2.0 you is, and who the 3.0 you is, please do that work. It's a great journaling exercise. But it's really imperative that you say 1.0 Trish was. We talk about her in the past tense. Even if you're still struggling with some of those habits, we're going to declare and leave them behind. And then 2.0 Trish is present tense, power in the present tense. So let's get familiar with that self-concept, with who you are. And then also, she is becoming, she is also our future. Number 2, celebrate your micro milestones. We got to get in a better spirit, celebration, self-validation. I have a $7 course on how to self-validate. It's in the chat. In the show notes, check it out. But I think you can access it at trishblackwell.com/validate. It's simple to go, look, I'm not doing enough. Our brain is wired with a negativity bias. So let's start building a positivity bias. We do that by saying, I'm proud of myself. We do that with the 3-3-3 method at night, with tracking your wins, with saying, hey, look at me. You better believe when I'm done recording this audio, this video, I got 2 cameras on me. I got a light set up. There was a lot that goes into the production of this, especially as a solopreneur. You better believe as soon as I press end recording, I'm going to smile and say, good job. Good job, Trish. I don't have somebody else to tell me good job. I need to do it for myself. So I say, hey, that was a win today. You showed up, you loved, you poured out, I had to re-record actually. I poured time in out of love, believing that this will help somebody. I'm proud of that. I celebrate that micro milestone. Number 3, be committed to your tiny habits. Little by little, big things get done. Tiny habits are everything. And that means making your bed. It might mean keeping your desk clean. It might be inbox zero every single day. It might be putting your clothes out every single morning at night so that the morning you don't have to even start with this decision fatigue about your day. It's already pre-decided for you. What are your tiny habits of excellence? When you do that and you say, I'm so committed to my tiny habits in my life, that is evidence that you are not who you used to be. Most of us don't start with these automatic, amazing habits. We have to build them. And when you can recognize that your habits as you are now are drastically different than the 2012 version of you, or the 2-year version, the version of you from 2 years ago. That's where you can go. First we make our habits, then our habits make us. And so when you can say, I'm a person committed to their tiny habits, you realize you're so very different from who you used to be. Because you didn't used to have those habits. Then you had to establish the habits. Then you had to make them automatic. Then you had to honor them. There's so much that's a separation here. And then this gives you peace to know that as long as I stay committed to my habits, my results aren't going anywhere. All right, 4th one, continue to set goals. So many of us stop setting goals. And this is because we have a cultural narrative that says, we don't want to be disappointed. Don't ask for too much. Don't get your hopes up. I disagree with all that. Get your hopes up. Live with optimism. Dare to be different. The people who change the world have the boldness and the brashness to believe that they can, to believe that more is available. So yes, set goals. And all of this, I'm going to say this before we say the 5th one. If there's any of this that you want to know how to do better, or you don't want to do it alone, come and mentor with me in the College of Confidence, which is a month-to-month membership. It's a mentorship where I actually interact with you, support you, and you surround yourself with hundreds of other people doing these things. But setting goals is huge. And you might not know how to set new goals. That's where I come in. That's why coaching is so effective. The 5th thing, have monthly, quarterly, and annual check-ins and assessments with yourself. I do this with my students and the people that I work with, but also that you do this for yourself. Check in and say, how am I doing? How am I different this month than I was last month? How am I growing as an entrepreneur? How am I improving as an engaged parent? How am I investing in my marriage in a different way? How am I a better partner and spouse for this person that I love? How am I more self-reflective? What have I learned in the past month, week that is evidence to show me I am on my way? I may not be where I want to be, but I am on my way. That helps us go be afraid of what if I'm not doing enough? What if I'm backsliding? What if I'm not enough? What if I'm stuck in my past? You are not stuck in your past unless you choose to be. You're not stuck in your past unless you drift and hope that things change. You have so much more power, so much more freedom, so much more potential than you think. Here's a couple questions to ask yourself. What am I doing well? You're doing your self-assessments. What am I doing well? What can I do better? And what will I do differently next time? And you can be specific about next time. Is it tomorrow? What will I do tomorrow? What will I do next month? What will I do next year? And why do we stop setting goals? We stop setting goals because we think we're too old or we think we're too busy. We stop because we don't slow down enough, honestly, to ask ourselves what we actually want. We stop because we are afraid that we can't do it or that we're going to look ridiculous doing it. We stop because we've lost our yearning for an uncommon and extraordinary life. All of those questions are there in the show notes for you. Let's finish off with our new weekly segments, the power phrase pyramid. Okay, they're going to be simple, concise, and I'm going to start with the beginner thought, and then I'm going to give you a medium thought, and then I'm going to give you your top thought. So we got beginner thought, medium thought, top thought. Are you ready? And just a little reminder, I need your feedback if you like our new power phrase pyramid. Beginner thought, I am a product of my past, and it has prepared me for the breakthroughs of my present. I am a product of my past, and it has prepared me for the breakthrough of my present. Medium thought, I'm committed to continual growth, and I won't ever tire of self-reflection and personal improvement. I ain't getting tired. I will not tire of becoming better. I'm committed to continual growth, and I won't ever tire of self-reflection or personal improvement. And here's our top thought. The top thought is usually going to be more concise and simple to remember because it's the top thought. I'm getting better and better every day. I'm getting better and better every day. You can insert better with a different adjective if you want. I'm getting more and more confident every day. I'm getting more and more successful every day. I'm getting more and more joyful every day. I'm becoming a better mom, better and better mom every day. I'm getting better and better every day. Guys, thank you for being a listener of the Confidence Podcast. It's such a privilege to be a voice of encouragement in your life. Share the show with a friend. Hit follow if you're not yet following. Leave a comment, leave some love. I am so deeply grateful for you. Go out there today. Go be more of who God created you to be. Be you. Be free. Thanks for listening to the Confidence Podcast and allowing me to be your coach today in your life. If you love the show, please let us know by leaving a review in iTunes. Are you encouraged by what you learned? Share this episode with a friend and let us know that the show is changing your life by saying hi to us on social media at Instagram, Trish_Blackwell, or on Facebook, Trish Blackwell Coaching. Ready to take what I teach and really take it to the next level? Join us today in the College of Confidence. It's my group coaching program that you can join risk-free and cancel anytime. In the COC, you'll scale your confidence, your courage, and the changes you make in your life. It's the coaching support and community you've been looking for. Go to www.collegeofconfidence.com to get started. If you love the podcast, you will love the College of Confidence even more and see even more transformation in your life. Come and see for yourself. I'm cheering you on, friend. See you soon.